Hi, I'm Kaylee, and today I'm going to be telling you about all the books that I read in November. I did not intend to do nonfiction November, it just kind of happened. Before we jump into all the nonfiction that I read, I want to make sure that you know that Books for MKs is a charity that donates books to missionary kids. Today's MK shout out goes to Jude, who is 10 years old and lives in Malawi. He loves to read biographies. If you want to donate to the missionary kids, you can do so at gofundme.com. Please give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Out of all the books that I read in November, only one of them was not a book that was sent to me from a publisher in exchange for a free and honest review. So I'm actually going to start with that one, and then everything after that are all reviews through the good mercies and graces of the lovely publishers who are so kind to send me review copies. One of my very dear friends knows, of course, that I am a musician and that I love classical music, and she let me borrow Revolutionaries of Sound. This is a playlist by James Rhodes, who puts together some of the greatest music ever written by some of the most amazing classical and Baroque and Romantic era composers in the world. There are chapters with Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, Ravel, Rachmaninoff, who am I missing? Schubert. I was really intrigued with the wild and colorful artwork that surrounds each of the composers. I was a little dissatisfied with the writing style because it's sort of flippant and irreverent. The author is obviously very knowledgeable about the history and the composers and the meaning behind their music, but the writing style just wasn't for me. It's like it was trying to be cool, and I just wanted a book about classical music. So I didn't want a cool book. I ended up giving this 3 stars. If you don't know anything about classical music and you want a cool book about classical music, then this would be a great one for you. You would probably give it 5 stars. All right, all the rest of the books in this list are books that I received for free from the publisher in exchange for a free and honest review. I got a lot of books from National Geographic, and I just love everything they do. It's always so well organized and with beautiful photographs and just so much good information and facts, and I just love National Geographic. They really know how to do stuff. I read the Encyclopedia of the American Indian, and I was especially interested to find the chapter on the Cherokee people because I am 1/8 or 1/16 or I'm something Cherokee. Like my great-great-grandmother was Cherokee. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was amazing how they, in just a short amount of, a couple of pages for each different Native American tribe, they were able to put in so much good information and so many beautiful photographs and illustrations, not just of American people, in the olden days, but also of modern Native Americans. I read Code This, which has puzzles and games and just general explanations of how computer code works. It takes very simple concepts of how computer code is organized, and it makes it into puzzles and games that children can do. I would recommend this for kids like ages 10 to 14 or maybe 15. It's just so much fun, and it's simple and easy to understand, so you don't get bogged down with a lot of technicality stuff, but it could really spark someone's interest in learning to code. I gave this one 4 stars. I read the Book of Kings and the Book of Queens. Both of these feature not just actual kings and queens from actual monarchies, but also just leaders and presidents and emperors and people who lead in their field, people who are like the queen of science or the queen of art or, the king of literature. It features athletes and authors and composers and just people who have excelled or done amazing, world-changing things in some way. Both of these are full of really colorful illustrations and just really fun little factoids about history and stuff. I gave both of these 5 stars. I just wanted to dive into these books and never come up for air. There are so many fun little interesting things in both of these. I read Surprising Stories Behind Everyday Stuff, which tells about regular, everyday things that we have and where they come from and how they developed through the ages and why, candles are the way they are and where Scotch tape came from and how an electric iron is so different from an iron that people used on their clothes back in the olden times. It's organized in these little tidbits of information, so it's very good to just capture your attention. I gave this one 5 stars. I read Don't Read This Book Before Dinner, and there's a reason that it is titled that. It is full of gross stuff. It is full of gross things that people eat and gross things that your body does and gross animals and mold and I don't know, just any nasty thing that makes you go, ooh, it's in this book. It's definitely in there. I gave this one 4 stars. I read Brain Candy, 500 Sweet Facts to Satisfy Your Curiosity. And it's literally just random facts about everything in the earth, about animals and geology and science and history and literature and art and architecture and everything. Random little, strange facts about the world. I gave it 5 stars, it's crazy. I read Nerd A to Z, which is an encyclopedia or a reference just with all kinds of random nerdy information. This is sort of like a condensed encyclopedia with encyclopedic entries that are arranged alphabetically, but it's just weird facts about everything under the sun. It talks about, comic book heroes, it talks about different scientific discoveries, and there are little quotes in the margins from famous scientists or from actors saying how cool nerds are. I gave this one 5 stars. I read The Big Book of Bling, and it is not just about gems and diamonds and, fancy rhinestones. It's about anything that is flashy or expensive or just kind of glitzy and glam. So it talks about some of the most expensive items in the world, like the most expensive car and the most expensive house and the biggest, fanciest castles. But it also talks about animals and how animals will have iridescent scales or some sort of flashy feathers that they use to attract a mate or to fend off predators or different stuff like that. It talks about bioluminescent caves and waterfalls that sparkle and just anything that sparkles, it is in there. I gave this one 5 stars. I also read a whole lot of cookbooks. I read a ton of cookbooks, and you don't think of cookbooks as really being something that you read, but each of these have something special that I would actually read. I read the One Pot Weight Loss Plan. I read the Easy Cake Cookbook, the 4-week Fast Metabolism Diet Plan, and the 30-minute Ayurvedic Cookbook, the Vegetarian Meal Prep Cookbook, Everyday Bread Baking, Let's Party Kids Cookbook, the Quick and Easy Healthy Cookbook, and the Healthy Family Cookbook. And lastly, the Migraine Diet. All of these are books that don't just have recipes. They have a meal plan and a shopping list and why this diet will help you lose weight or help your migraines or make you healthier in these different ways. They talk about vitamins and nutrients, and even some of them talk about other lifestyle changes you can do to help your body. You need to sleep well. You need to do gentle exercise. This is how to stop yourself at the grocery store from buying those cookies. All of these cookbooks have some special focus, and in the introduction and in the first chapters, they really talk about a lot of healthy lifestyle plans and meal plans, and then the second half of the cookbook will actually go into the recipes. I gave every single one of these 4 or 5 stars. They all have really delicious looking recipes and really good information about healthy living. I also reviewed several preschool up through 1st grade workbooks all about phonics and colors and shapes and learning your alphabet. And the reason that I wanted to review these is because I want to do these little workbooks with my nieces. They're still pretty little. The oldest one is just a toddler, but when she does start preschool, I want to start doing some of these little pages with her. Maybe it's just because I've been a teacher my whole life and I do have a degree in education, and I just want to share those special learning moments with my nieces. I have seen many a school curriculum for preschoolers, for elementary, teaching them their alphabet, teaching them to read. And I have to say, I really like these workbooks. They are all very colorful. They have little puzzles and games and little activities that you can do on the page. The pages are just interesting. They're full of color and life. I really think that children would enjoy learning if they're doing these workbooks. And I'm not just saying that, I really know. I'm a teacher, this is what I do. I really like these. I gave every single one of these workbooks 5 stars. I just can't wait to do some of these with my nieces. I also read Super Quick Colorful Quilts. Try saying that 5 times fast. My mother is a huge quilter. My grandmothers were both quilters, and my aunt quilts. We're a quilting family. My mom taught me to quilt. The thing I really love about this quilt book is that it takes these sort of traditional patterns and traditional styles and then gives it a fresh new look. It kind of modernizes it with some new colors and just something special about each quilt that has these different little buttons that decorate it, or there's some kind of little pattern or design or something that just makes it ooh, that's nice. That's really special. And so if you're making a quilt, especially to give to someone or to pass down into your family as part of your heritage, these are really nice. They have that traditional kind of background, but they also feel modern. I gave this one 5 stars. The next one, I can't really say that I read it because there's not really much to read. It's a Christmas paper crafting book, and it's mostly just full of beautifully colored papers that you can tear out. There are perforated lines, and you can tear them out to make bookmarks or postcards or little greeting cards and gift tags, and they are beautiful. I mean, the paper is really thick, so you could use it for scrapbooking. I gave this one 4 stars. I read a first volume of the comic The World According to Francois. The first one is The Writer's Secret. Francois is a little boy with a lot of imagination, and then the letters in the book start to come to life, and there's a glowing power around him, and he discovers that he has the power to make anything he can imagine become real. And of course, there's a mysterious old lady who belongs to some kind of freaky author's cult. And so, there's an evil guy who's trying to take over the power of the alphabet, and Francois has to prove that he is the chosen one. I really liked how imaginative the story is, and Francois is just such a funny little guy. So I gave this one 4 stars. I read Restorative Yoga for Beginners. Now, I'm not a beginner. I've been doing yoga for 4 or 5 years now, but I do love restorative yoga. It is one of the most gentle types of yoga that you can do. What I like about this book is it has very clear instructions for each pose and a lot of really good information and advice, like if you have an injury or if you're pregnant or if you're elderly, then here are some modifications for you to safely do this pose. The illustrations have beautiful pastel colors, and the whole book just feels so relaxing and calming. I gave this one 5 stars. I read Ultimate Trivia Volumes 1 and 2. Now, I didn't actually read it because that would be cheating. You're not supposed to read the answers. before you play the trivia game. But in the beginning, it does give instructions for 5 different ways that you can play the trivia game, either with teams or solo, or, you know, with just 2 people, or how you can, you know, do the points and everything. And it is full of really cool trivia questions for history and geography and food and arts and literature and, you know, all of that good trivia stuff. And of course, in the back, then there is an answer key. This looks like it would be such a fun game to play. I gave this 5 stars. I read National Geographic's Treasury of Bible Stories. This has really interesting and beautiful illustrations to go along with each Bible story. The Bible stories are retold and kind of reimagined with imagined dialogue and kind of like the thoughts of the characters. So if you want a Bible story that is just kind of more of a story where it's told in a narrative kind of style, then this one's great. But if you want Bible stories that are actually just adhere to what is in the actual Bible, then maybe this is not the best. I mean, I wouldn't base my beliefs on the way these stories are told, but they are a nice little kind of reimagining, sort of enhancement of Bible stories. I gave this 3 stars. I read Practical Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is a meditation technique, and it actually means yoga sleep. It's where you put your mind into such a relaxed state, and your body is so relaxed, it's as if your body feels like it's sleeping, but your mind is still awake and aware. I really love how this book first just explains how Yoga Nidra and how meditation will improve your sleep and reduce stress and really help your body to heal itself. And then there are several chapters with different Yoga Nidra meditations and really an in-depth look, step by step, guiding you to a deeper practice in your Yoga Nidra meditation. I gave this 4 stars. I think it's really beautifully organized and a good first introduction to the practice of Yoga Nidra. I read A Shared Grandmother's Journal, which is a journal, a guided journal that a grandmother and grandchild can fill out together. And it asks them questions, you know, like, what's your favorite childhood memory? And, you know, what is your favorite food and your favorite color? And, you know, those kind of things. But then it delves into some deeper things, like, what is one of your worst fears? Or what makes you feel brave? Or what is one of your favorite things to do together with your family? What makes you laugh? It looks like it would be so much fun to fill out. Of course, I'm not a grandmother. I'm giving it to my mom because she's a grandmother. So this is gonna be one of her Christmas presents. Nobody tell her it's a secret. I gave this one 5 stars. I read The Adventures of Moose and Mr. Brown. Moose has lost his twin brother at the airport when his twin brother jumped on a plane, and they don't know where he's gone. And so Moose gets a job with Mr. Brown, who sends him traveling all over the world designing clothing for animals. There's a giraffe that needs a scarf. There's a bear that needs some snowshoes. There's a bat that needs a raincoat. You know, they design all these different things all over the world looking for Moose's twin brother. And finally, they do a fashion show in Paris, and it's their last chance to find the long-lost brother. I thought the illustrations were really adorable and very imaginative, all the different places that they go and the animals they meet. This is just an adorable picture book, and I gave it 4 stars. I read a couple of like science-y, experiment project-y type of books. I don't even know what I'm saying. But I read awesome chemistry experiments for kids and awesome robotics projects for kids. These are all STEAM-geared activities and projects and things for kids to use their math skills and their engineering and their science and chemistry and all that good stuff. I was really impressed with how doable these are. The chemistry experiments especially just use stuff you would see around your house, like baking soda and vinegar. And a lot of the robotics projects also use like popsicle sticks or a plastic cup or different things like that that you could just find around your house. But some of the things are materials that you would actually have to buy for that project. But the projects look so cool. It's totally worth it. Oh, it would be so much fun to do this with a kid. And they range from very, very simple, like a 7-8-year-old kid could do it, up to a little more complex, where probably 14 or 15 years old, then they could do those. I gave both of these 5 stars. They look like so much fun. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with horses. And sort of as a nostalgia thing, I got the horses coloring and activity book. And it was actually more than I thought. I thought, oh, a horses coloring book, how cute. I can color it with my nieces or something. But wow, there's a lot of information in here about different breeds of horses and the jobs that they do, and kind of the history behind different sporting events with horses and races and things. There's actually a lot of information in there, along with the coloring pages and the little word puzzles and the little mazes and things. There's actually some good educational information in here that I really liked. So I gave this one 5 stars. I tried to read Tell or The Adventures in the Middle. However, there were so many grammatical errors that it really started to get on my nerves. I made it to page 50 and then I just DNF'd it. You know, my mom's an English teacher and she taught me well, and I just can't overlook the grammatical errors. There were some spelling issues and a lot of misplaced modifiers, and yeah. The story is imaginative. It's about a little boy who comes home to find a note from his father saying, if you're reading this letter, then I am dead. But his dad is known for doing a lot of practical jokes, so at first he just thinks, my dad is just playing a joke on me. So he goes through most of the first part of the book just trying to figure out, is his dad really dead? And then there are a lot of magical things that begin to happen, and Tell goes off on his adventures. The plot is imaginative, but it just didn't capture my interest. And Tell is a fine main character. He's okay, but I just wasn't invested in his story, and so I DNF'd it. I gave it 2 stars. I read The Mindfulness Journal for Teens. This is a beautiful, beautiful journal. It has these lovely borders around the edge of each page. The design is really lovely, and the actual, guided part of the journal is really good as well. Each chapter begins with a page that just talks about some things about mindfulness, lowering stress. So each one has kind of a little instructional part, and then the journal part with some prompts and some questions, and then a quote at the end. I've already started using this just myself. I know that it says for teens, but other than a few references to school, like, what's something that stresses you out at school? Or is there a teacher that stresses you out or something, or how could you respond to that? Other than those few references, it really could be for anybody. It doesn't have to be for teens. And you could just substitute work for school and substitute boss for teacher. And there you go. It's a mindfulness journal for adults. I love it. I'm giving this 5 stars. And those are all the books that I read in November. Please leave me a comment and let me know what was your favorite book that you read in November. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.